Hey, everybody. That's what that music always reminds me of. I am Aaron, and welcome back to I'll Watch It Later podcast, where we watch movies we own but never seen. I'm here with my bestest friend in the whole world, Jordan.
Hi, everybody.
And my other bestest friend and brother-in-law, Scott.
Howdy.
And a couple quick off the top of the show notes. The last time we did a movie episode, I was talking about Tony Leung from Shang-Chi. And I said he was in the movie Fallen Angels, and he's not. And I want to retract that and say I was thinking of Infernal Affairs, because that movie is awesome. But I got it mixed up because I was looking at my Wong Kar-wai collection and blah, blah, blah.
Are we doing retractions?
This has literally been weighing on you for like
just
2
that.
weeks.
It has been.
Because I got yelled at for using the wrong Star Trek theme.
Yeah, you did. Well,
I didn't use any exclamation points in my text.
Listen,
so
Scott,
no.
you are our producer. You
You're
make
fired.
absolutely no money, and you need to get these things right. All we do is talk into these microphones and then shut them off and go home and sleep. You need to make them good.
Next generation for life.
Right?
So, yeah, guys, it's been 2 weeks since we talked about movies. I hope you guys enjoyed the snack episode. As always, you can follow us on watchitlaterpod.com. You can also check out our social media and Instagram, Watch It Later Pod, and our Twitter at Watch It Later Pod. If you have any suggestions, comments, queries, anything that you want to get to us, or if you even have a movie suggestion, I would love that. So before we did the snack show, I picked the movie, and it is Paul Thomas Anderson's first film, Hard 8.
I saw a cat have a heart attack right at the craft table. Bam! The game just keeps going on. I mean, people are yelling, place the 8. Somebody call an ambulance, place the 9. Meanwhile, this old bastard's laying on the floor like the people are still playing.
You know those big monster books of matches? I had one of those in my pocket once. And I'm standing there in line for a movie, and all of a sudden just wham!
I have to make money. I have bills. I have an apartment that I have to pay for. I have a car. I have a Camaro. I mean, that costs money, you know?
Come on, old time, you gonna join us?
$2,000 hard 8.
Oh, man, you play that game. You are big time.
Hello, Captain.
Tell me something. Are you required to flirt as some part of your job?
They don't say to do it.
But if you don't,
How to lose the tip?
you know how to count cards?
No.
If you don't know how to count cards, better stay away from blackjack.
I'd like 150 in dollar tokens.
I see the way John worships you and follows you like you're his captain.
John is a very old friend.
I haven't told John, but I know about Atlantic City.
He thinks you don't like him.
I don't.
Let me pull up the description right quick. It's Philip Baker Hall, Gwyneth Paltrow, John C. Reilly, Samuel L. Jackson, a cameo by Philip Seymour Hoffman, which was very surprising to me. I didn't know he was in it. And yeah, it is a stranger mentors a young Reno gambler who weds a hooker and befriends a vulgar casino regular. I know we can't really say if we liked it or not right away, but I did not mean to pick an art house film twice. So I apologize about that. But I didn't know what I was getting into because I've never seen it. I love Paul Thomas Anderson. I've seen a lot of his movies. There's There Will Be Blood is one of my favorite movies of all time. Magnolia is good. At least I've heard. I've never seen it.
He says Magnolia's good. Never seen it, but I hear it's good.
But Boogie Nights, very good.
Boogie Nights is good.
He's also coming out with another movie this year called Licorice Pizza, which I guess is already a heavy Oscar contender. I do like Paul Thomas Anderson. He is one of my top favorite movie director guys, along with David Lynch, Quentin Tarantino, stuff like that. I watched this. I didn't know anything about it. I thought it was going to go one way, and it went a completely different way. It starts with Hall's character meeting John C. Reilly outside of
Sydney,
yeah, which was originally the title of the film.
Correct.
But they didn't think they thought, the studio honestly thought that people would think it was about Australia and asked Paul Thomas Anderson to change it. That is a legit, true story.
Sydney or Hard 8. I'm picking up Hard 8. I mean, I look at
bet
Sydney.
you
and
are.
I'm looking at Sydney, and I'm probably like, not interested.
I mean, that's fine. Jordan?
First of all, I need to address the fact that you know Paul Thomas Anderson. You've seen Paul Thomas Anderson movies, and you didn't think this was going to be an art house, dialogue-driven movie.
No,
like,
that's
what did
not
you
what.
expect?
That's not
This
what I
isn't
meant.
Rounders. This is.
I love Rounders.
Rounders is great. That's just funny that you would know that who directed this movie and didn't think this would be more artsy than.
I don't consider Paul Thomas Anderson really artsy. I don't like using that word because
Punch Drunk Love. Like,
yeah, Punch Drunk
very
Love.
art.
Oh,
and
I love
honestly,
that movie.
it's one of my favorite Adam Sandler movies. Which is
it's
weird
excellent.
because everyone thinks
Yeah,
Happy Gilmore, all these things, and honestly, it's Punch Drunk Love.
Yeah, but
he's classified as like one of the first original video store directors, is what they called him.
Yeah, well, I understand all that. I get it, but seeing as it came out as his first film, stuff like that, I don't consider Paul Thomas Anderson like a art house director. I mean, those movies are very dialogue driven and stuff like that, but they're not. They keep your attention. There's enough going on.
Well, I'm not saying it's a bad choice. I'm just saying, you knew director-wise who you picked, and to be surprised by it was how artsy in theory it was. It's just kind of funny.
I'm shocked that Stephen King's movies are scary.
They're not scary though.
They're not
See,
scary.
that's
Some of
the
them are.
shocking thing is that they're not scary. No, like I said, I didn't know what to expect because
Right.
I see the cast, and I mean, The Master is probably one of my favorite movies of all time. Now we're just going to talk about Paul Thomas Anderson for an hour. It's just I just didn't know what to expect because it's his first movie. Who knows which way he was going? Who knew who he was influenced by? He had a lot of big names for it being his first movie.
It was a pretty, for as small as the cast was, it was a lot of heavy hitters. I mean, you got Sam Jackson, you had Philip Seymour Hoffman. Honestly, I knew he was in it. I'd looked up the cast beforehand, so I knew he was in it. I didn't realize he was literally in it for like 3 minutes. It was a quick cameo, and then he's out. And
all of his dialogue was improvised.
Right. He was just there to kind of I think, give Sydney a little bit of crap, literally at a craps table, and that was it. And then he's out.
At a craps table.
And
that's the funny joke.
It was just weird to see him so quickly. It's almost the John Candy of career opportunities, where he's in it for a second, and then he's out, and you never hear from it again. You never see him again. He's not part. You could have cut him out completely. That movie would have stayed the same.
I agree.
I think same with Philip Seymour Hoffman. Like, I loved seeing him. You don't realize how much you miss certain actors on screen until you see that kind of thing, and it's like, okay, yeah, it sucks. He's gone. This is neat to see him, but then he was gone, and then that was it. You don't see him anymore.
I know, and his cameo didn't really make an impact. I'm not going to lie and act like I understood everything about this movie, because I didn't really understand that scene. He puts $2,000 on hard 8, and he loses. Essentially, he rolls the soft 8, which means the chip is picked up. I know how to play craps, so I understood the scene. I just didn't understand the significance of it because this dude's like, "Hey, old timer," You know what I mean? Like,
I think what it is that what you're seeing is that you don't know much about this Sydney character.
Right.
Like you said, he shows up at the beginning. He talks to
John C.
Reilly's character. They have a dialogue in a diner. He kind of takes him under his wing, and then it flips to 2 years later, and they're already kind of heavy into their thing. And he's a very cool, calm, collected character.
Yeah.
But you don't think that's how he always is. Like, there's always something behind why he's so calculated, why he's so calm, why he's so easy to go. And you see that in that scene where he's at the craps table. Someone is giving him a lot of shit. And it almost looks like he's holding back how he wants to react.
Right.
Like, it sounds like this is the type of guy that would have gone over to the other side of that table, taken that guy's glass and smashed him over the head.
Yeah.
And you kind of, not to jump ahead too much, you kind of see that come out later at the end of the movie, and then the movie ends. So you feel like there is a bigger story of this guy's past than you're seeing on screen. And he's very cool, calm, very reserved. It kind of squeaks out a little bit in the hotel room scene where he's starting to feel like he's losing his nerve a little bit. He's unraveling because something really messed up happened, and he just
jumping ahead, but that's
okay.
okay.
I'm just jumping around a little bit, but that's just his character,
Right.
and that's what that crap scene kind of made me feel like someone was pushing him, and he was just frustrated a little bit at it, but he let it go and walked away because if he would have stayed longer, he probably would have done something he didn't want to do anymore.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's weird and for me, I think like we were talking about a little bit earlier before we started this, is that you think that this movie is about John C. Reilly and learning how to, be a better gambler and kind of, run the system and do all this stuff. And it really isn't. It's about Sydney.
Yeah.
And had they named it Sydney, maybe you would have had that feeling going in. But Hard Eight, you have no idea.
Right.
And it's kind of interesting to see you're kind of feeling the story out from his angle. And right off the bat, what gets me is that after watching the movie entirely, I kind of wish I knew what happened in those 2 years.
Oh, I know.
And that's where I feel I like this movie. I'm not gonna rate it yet, but I did like the movie. But I feel like there was so much more story that I wanted to know about in the 2 years after he meets up with John C. Reilly and when they're running the show in Reno.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like I feel like the story.
Well, there's definitely a lot of holes between then.
Yeah, and like what
does that mean?
Yeah.
Well,
so Paltrow, everybody.
No, I'm just saying. So the one big thing that kind of got me is at the beginning of this movie. Obviously, the Sydney character walks up to a diner, and John C. Reilly's character John is sitting, basically crying or broken outside this diner. He picks him up, takes him into the diner, then kind of takes him into the casinos and teaches him how to get free hotel rooms.
Oh, that was so awesome.
He teaches him how to get free hotel rooms. So then we skip 2 years, and all of a sudden now John C. Reilly is apparently like this big gambler.
Right.
What the hell happened in between the 2 years? When did he learn how to gamble? Because all Sydney taught him was how to get a free hotel room.
Well, he was showing him how to, game the system and get the hotel room. But that was the start of his tutelage. And then, 2 years later, he's now running the show. He's still hanging with Sydney, but Sydney's kind of letting him do his thing. And then you start meeting some of the other characters, which, like I said, the cast is very small. There's only maybe 4 people you need to really know.
Right.
And what happened in those 2 years? Like, I really wanted to see more of the, I'm going to teach you how to do this. And maybe see more scenes where, he's learning how to run craps or, play Keno or do some of this stuff. I really feel like there's a lot of story we missed out on by skipping 2 years.
Yeah, I agree. But I didn't think that had a lot to do with the overall plot of the film. You know what I mean? Clearly, all you need to know is that John C. Reilly is now the shit. But I wanted to go back to the beginning. I really liked that scene in the diner. It was very Tarantino-esque, and I don't like to put, I don't like to be like, well, it was. I actually looked it up. I actually looked to see if it's not. He got the money for Boogie Nights that he actually had to put into this movie to fix it, because they filmed a little bit of it, including that diner scene with different actors in a different location or something like that. And I really from the jump, that diner scene really jumped out to me. Just the dialogue and how he's like, what do you need $6,000 for? Your mother's, well, my mom's died. Well, okay. I thought it was going to be more about John C. Reilly get his life on track and this guy teaching him. And I knew it had something to do with gambling. I didn't necessarily know which way it was going, and I just took a surprising turn. I was surprised by everything in this film, all the twists and turns, all the story progression. I liked it a lot.
And it's not even like twists and turns as you would think, like a M. Night Shyamalan
right,
movie, where it's like, oh my god, that's great. No, it's just you're right. You think it's a gambling movie. You think it's this is going to be a thing, and it's not that. It's a character study of this man, Sydney, and what he's going through and how he's dealing with something that you don't know about until later on in the movie. And then you realize he's there for a reason. He met up with John C. Reilly for a reason, and then is trying to kind of be a surrogate father to this character.
No, I think the whole John C. Reilly, him meeting up with John C. Reilly, like that is a weird conversation to have with somebody, especially that you don't know.
Right.
And it didn't take me out of the movie, and I'm definitely not complaining about it. I'm just saying it's like that's what the hooks got me into, because I'm like, why would you, like, if a perfect stranger started talking to me like that, I don't know if I would stay for that conversation.
And I'm not a very smart man,
right?
But
we know.
I picked up the fact that there was something else going on that was going to connect these two together for some reason.
Right.
Because why would this weird guy just come up to him in a restaurant and then take him aside and then want to teach him how to get free hotel rooms?
Right. No, I agree with you on that. I'm just saying I didn't expect what was going to happen in the movie to happen. Once we get to the big reveal of what exactly happened to make Sydney show up in the first place, I wasn't like, oh my God. I was more like, that makes sense.
Well, and here's the thing: had John C. Reilly character been a smarter person, that scene would have been weird because no person of any kind of mental faculties that would be kind of, wary of a stranger coming saying, "Hey, I'm going to buy you something to eat. Let's talk. Let's hang out."
Right.
But he is a very simple man. He's kind of dumb. I mean, he's a dummy.
Yeah.
And it plays out throughout the entire movie that he's a dummy. Now, he's a teachable dummy. I mean, you can teach this person to do certain things. It's like he's put him on, this is what you do in this order, and don't deviate. Everything will work.
Well, and he scolds him for getting a drink. He's got him doing all these calculated moves, and he orders a drink, and he walks over to him
free
at the slot machine, and he's like, yeah, well, did you get a drink? Yeah, I got a drink. And he's like, well, that drink just cost you $150.
Right, because now you're going to be drinking, your mental your inhibitions are going to be going, you're going to make mistakes, and you're going to mess up.
Right.
So yes, he's that teachable idiot where these are the steps you need to take, these are the only steps you need to take, and that's it. And that's why that conversation was probably easy to digest, because he was a simple man. He didn't think twice about freaking out about this stranger. And my thing is, how did Sidney know where to find him?
Yeah,
like this is 1996. There wasn't cell phones and tracking this, or I have all the information, the internet. This is like somehow Sidney just happened to be at this diner where John C. Reilly was outside freaking out that he had lost all his money.
Well, clearly he saw him in the casino prior to the film's beginning. That has to be how he just followed him. That's my thought, because he lives there and he knows a lot of people there. We meet, he meets.
Well, he was tracking him because, again, we'll wait till we kind of reveal the ending of this, but it comes together of why he is with him,
right,
and why he chose him to do it.
We get past that. We do the free room stuff. The movie kind of starts, and you meet Gwyneth Paltrow, which I thought for her this was a really good role, because I'm only used to seeing her as Marvel movies now, but just not mostly rom-coms, stuff like that. I liked her as this hooker character. I liked her as interacting with Hall and stuff like that. I thought she was excellent in this film.
Well, I think they played well together because she's that same type of idiot. She's kind of slow. She it's like she was living in Kansas, transplanted into the big city, and had to survive. So she became a waitress in these casinos and started sleeping around to get money, even though she would be adamant against, no, I'm not a hooker, no, I'm not this, no, I'm not that. I mean, even at one point where Sidney's being nice to her and trying to help her, and I think it's because, he respects John C. Reilly's character so much that he wants to be nice to the people around him, and he knows he's got a thing for her, and she instantly thinks, oh, you want to sleep with me?
Right.
You know what I mean? And he's like, no.
Why
would you say that?
That was such a powerful scene.
Yeah, and it was because she was
kind of a father figure type.
Yeah,
scene.
Yeah, and he's trying to do right by John C. Reilly, and he's trying to be good to her and try to maybe even get her out of that life that she's in. Even to the part where the next morning he's like, hey, take her out. Go get some new clothes. Don't go home. Don't go back to your life. Just go. Here's some money. Go get some clothes. Go to the mall. Go do this, and then move your life forward.
Well, and some of the big dialogue in between Sidney and Clementine, her character,
right,
is where he's asking her at the table because he sees her waiting on other tables, and she's doing the flirty thing, and he asked her, he's like, does your job tell you to do this?
Right.
Or do you do it? And she's like, well, I mean, I make a lot of tips if I do it. So he's kind of trying to coach her through the fact that she doesn't have to put herself out there
right,
in order to make a living.
Right.
Yeah. And he's one of those enigma characters where he, something else is going on with this guy, but he's also very respectful. We get our first introduction to Sam Jackson, and Sam Jackson's being, Sam Jackson, and
he was so Sam Jackson.
He is he is so sleazy. He's greasy. I mean, he's that. You'd think there's also more to this character, and he's a real asshole. His language is just Sam Jackson language,
right,
just raw and rough. And Sidney's like, don't say that. Don't say that word. Don't talk about these people this way. They could probably hear you.
Right.
I don't want that image being projected from in my company. If you want to say it over, wherever else you want to say it, be that person. But if you're sitting next to me and you're sitting in my company, don't say these things because that's not the image I want to project. And they know each other already. So you're introduced to Jimmy, who already knows Sydney's character and John C. Reilly. They all know each other, and that's where my thing is. That's where the story is for me in those 2 years that you missed, because I would have liked to known how they've met,
Right.
how they know each other, how they've interacted in this little, in Reno and into these casinos, and how they've already kind of built that rapport. Because obviously John C. Reilly likes him,
Right.
Jimmy likes him, but Sydney tolerates Jimmy but doesn't like him, and there's plenty of reasons not to.
So
but
that
you don't get that history, and that's where I like I said, I really wanted to know in that 2 years how these characters developed to that point.
The 2 year span it just jumped us right into it.
Yeah.
It was like the scene cuts back. It's John and Jimmy are in a casino together and they meet Sydney. So it's like you get just kind of thrown back into the story.
that scene, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but that whole interaction with Samuel L. Jackson and Sydney and John C. Reilly, and I mean, she's talking to Hall in the beginning, Gwyneth Paltrow. That once again, that whole Samuel L. Jackson's entire dialogue during that scene felt so Tarantino to me. Like the way he's explaining why it's okay to talk to him like why it's okay to degrade them,
Right.
and stuff like that. It felt familiar. It was almost like lowering yourself into a warm bath. Like this is why I chose this movie type of situation. Like I am used to seeing this because I'm used to the Pulp Fictions and the Jackie Browns and the Hateful Eight, super dialogue filled about why, okay, I'm a crappy person, but here's why I'm a crappy person, and I'm going to explain it to you so you can get on the same page as me. I really like that scene. That's one of my favorite scenes of the movie. Before we get to the mostly the end of it, but that is absolutely one of my favorite scenes in this film. Is that when he's explaining why it's okay for him to degrade women because they kind of expect it. Not saying he's right. I'm just saying it was so artfully described that it's really worth watching. Even if you didn't watch the film, I highly recommend looking it up online or whatever.
And here's the thing about the dialogue in this movie. Like you said, it has that hint of Tarantino feel, but the big difference between a Tarantino movie and this movie is that Tarantino movies have a very eclectic, very, almost over-exaggerated dialogue.
Right.
You don't see anybody talking like this. I don't care who you are. No person in their right mind talks the way his characters talk. And that's fine. I love that they exist in this world, and it's very stylized in the way they speak. In this movie, all the dialogue felt natural. It felt cool, calm, collected. It felt it had purpose. It felt like this is a conversation I can see happening. Like this wasn't like, hey, cool cat, daddy-o, that's Tarantino. Right. And I'm cool with that. But this movie, although it felt very Tarantino in that sense where the dialogue drove that scene,
right? The
dialogue felt like this is a conversation you can hear in real time, in real life, and it didn't feel very, I don't have a term for it, like movie-like. It felt natural. And that's why I did like a lot of this movie, is that the dialogue felt natural from one scene to the next. These are conversations that you would have.
Right.
And there was only one, even toward the end, there was one scene where even the dialogue felt a little weird, but it still worked.
We'll get to that scene.
Yeah.
So from there we go, and like you said, John C. Reilly, Gwyneth Paltrow, they get married. Sydney's called up to their hotel room. They have kidnapped a random guy.
Taken hostage.
Yeah, taken hostage a random guy, which when I said earlier... Random. It wasn't random.
Well, she slept with him.
Right.
She's being the hooker version of what she did.
I just meant with this guy. You're not aware of the person in the film. That's what I mean. I don't mean random as in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So,
you act like they just kidnapped some random dude.
No. Like,
what's this guy doing?
We just happened to take this guy.
It just doesn't. So far, if you're watching the film, it doesn't fit into the movie. You're like, why is this happening? Type of thing. That's all I mean.
It's definitely there to create tension and to kind of bring Sydney out of his cool, calm demeanor.
Right.
It throws him in a situation that he had not planned for. He, like I said, throughout this movie, he's very collected, he's very calm, and he's very calculated.
Yeah.
And everything has a plan, everything has a place, and this didn't have a place. And he's pissed that it happened. and he's trying to figure out how to get them
Right.
out.
Well, I mean, it kind of makes sense in a way because
dummies.
they're so stupid.
They are right,
Yeah.
right.
So, and he has to go in there and kind of bail them out because they're so dumb. So she sleeps with this guy, and he refuses to pay her.
Right.
So
They call his wife.
they call his wife
Oh
to
my
get the
God.
money, and he's like, "Why did you call?"
Anyone.
They're literally
Anybody.
creating a paper trail of an illegal act. Like,
Right.
not only is prostitution illegal, now it's extortion,
And the
kidnapping,
poor
assault.
guy
This
keeps-
guy's passed out.
He
and they
keeps
keep
waking
beating
up,
him.
Yeah.
and they just keep knocking him out.
Oh.
Like
Well,
3 times. He's
the
like,
whole time.
and they just knock him over the head again, and the guy's out again.
Like, I thought he was dead. Like, he opened the door and the guy's laying on the bed and there's blood all over the pillow and she's over there crying. And, at some point, I guess he had hit her and then, I don't know. But yeah, they just keep hitting the dude. I almost felt bad for him. Like, damn.
Once again, I absolutely loved this is another scene in the film I absolutely loved. Not for what was going on, but for how the characters were interacting with each other. John C. Reilly just married Gwyneth Paltrow's character. So on their way back from being married, she decides to try to get some money by hooking.
Right.
Right
So
after they get married.
So yeah, it's wake up in Sydney's room, talk to John C. Reilly. John C. Reilly apparently had a crush on her for years.
Right.
He's been told to go take her to get new clothes and hang out. And between that scene and when John C. Reilly calls his character, Sydney's character, back to this hotel room, they had not only gotten married randomly, but yeah, she's slept with somebody else, charged him $300, got into a situation. Now they've got a hostage and extortion, and somehow called this man's poor wife.
And I also like full disclosure here, I did not like John C. Reilly's character in this at all. I thought he was a scumbag, idiot person. I didn't want him helping him anymore. But when he's talking to her, interacting with her, he hits her, and he's like, "I'm so sorry, baby, I love you," and she's just like, "It's cool, like let's run away together." And it just frustrated the ever living crap out of me. Not, I know you're supposed to be frustrated at stuff like that, but it was
she's
just
broke.
like,
She's broken.
I get
she's
it.
that
I
whole
just-
scene. You see her actual demeanor change because when Sydney's talking to her and saying, "Why did you do this?
Right.
Why do you need to do this?" And her attitude was kind of like when you're talking to like your kids, they're just like, "Whatever,
right,
yeah, whatever, dude.
This is what I know.
Yeah,
This
this
is-
is what I know how to do, man. Leave me
Yeah.
alone."
right. I just that whole it's so good. I mean, I'm bearing the lead here, but
I mean, for me, John C. Reilly is a very... I love seeing him on screen in
Yeah,
almost
me
everything.
too, me
Like
too.
I loved him in Talladega Nights because he's just a dummy.
Yeah.
And
Brothers.
seeing him in this
Shake a
is
bite.
great. To be honest with you, I don't even like Step Brothers. I mean, it's been quoted a million times.
Please.
I
you
hate
know
that
what?
movie.
Show over. that
Sorry.
is ridiculous.
I might have to revisit it, but I had a bad experience with it. I just don't like it.
Have you only
But
seen it once?
once, and that's all I needed.
No,
'cause it sucked.
no,
It's
no.
the worst.
Revisit that
Fucking
bad
cat in
boy.
a wine mixer.
That part's stupid. The rest
everyone
is
loves it.
hilarious.
It's
That's
so
all-
absurd. It's great.
Yeah, I might have to. But I mean, every time I've seen him, even in Chicago, like
Oh, I love him in
he-
musicals.
Well, in Chicago, he wasn't even the best part of that movie, and he was still great. Like I love him in everything. He's versatile. Like
He
doesn't
is.
play the
I was-
same character twice. I loved him in Gangs of New York.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, to see him in this character, it did feel familiar. He played that kind of aloof, dummy character.
I wasn't saying I hate John C. Reilly.
No,
I was
no,
just saying I
his
did not like
character
his
is-
character. His
no, his
character just
character's
made
just-
me. I just wanted to grab him around the throat and be like, "What are you doing, man? Like this dude is giving you the keys to the kingdom, and you want to fuck it up this bad?"
Oh yeah, no, he's the type you give a rabbit to and he breaks his neck. He's Lenny.
Yeah.
Like, he's dumb and he makes dumb choices. And unless Sydney's there to guide him, he's going to make dumb choices. Sydney let him alone. He went and got married, got his wife into a hooker situation, and took a hostage, and then hit his wife. Like, he doesn't know how to control, I think, his emotion. I don't think he knows how to control his actions, and I think that's why when you first meet him, he's down on his luck. He's got issues, and Sydney is the one that takes care of things, So
Yeah. I completely agree. So after that, they kind of go on the run, and we don't really see much from them anymore. They kind of leave the movie. I think there's only one other scene where they interact with Hall's character.
there's a phone call.
A phone
between the
call.
two.
Well, there's a line that I laughed so hard at because he's like, "I need to get you out of here. You need to go someplace." And they're
Oh, my
they're in
God.
Reno, and he's like,
Vegas?
"So should we go to Vegas?"
And he's like, "No, not Vegas." And then she goes, "What about Niagara Falls?" And Sydney's like, "Yeah, Niagara Falls. Take her to Niagara Falls," which is opposite end of the world. And
Right.
he goes, "I can't go to Niagara Falls. I've been there before. Because he's so stupid, he doesn't understand the situation that they're in, that they just need to get away. It doesn't matter where, just far away from the situation. And he doesn't want to go to Niagara Falls because he's been there before.
Right.
He's like, you dummy. Just drive. Get going. Get in the road. And he's just that stupid.
Right.
So, yeah, it's so frustrating.
And from that we get to Samuel L. Jackson and Hall's character interacting. You find out that Sidney actually has ties to the underground, the mob. I would love to know more about his past,
Right?
And that he actually killed John C. Reilly's father. We don't know why, but he did, and this is why he's being so nice to him. And now Samuel L. Jackson's extorting him, and it's just it all kind of. I wouldn't even say it's a twist. It's more just flow.
No, it just gives you that insight you needed to know why
Right.
he's there. You know why he's decided to pick John C. Reilly out
But
of
then
all
I
these
had
people.
but then I had the questions of why is all of a sudden, Jimmy and John together when Jimmy knows that Sidney killed his parent or killed his father, and shot him in the face. It's like there was a little bit of unansweredness to me, that it was just like it just coincidentally he was.
Well, he was clearly I think he was mobbed up too, because he goes to his house, he finds all those guns.
Right.
He had to, they were all
Oh,
part
he's
of
a scumbag.
Yeah, they're all they were.
scumbags.
It was all criminal, man. Everybody in this film was a criminal in some sort. It was almost like Sidney was a higher class criminal. Jimmy was like a middle class, and John C. Reilly character John was like was a dumbass.
Right.
They were all criminals, and then Gwyneth Paltrow was a hooker. All of them were scummy. They were all bad people, but just in their own way. But when you look at Hall's character, when you look at Sidney, you're like, okay, this guy isn't that bad,
Well,
even
I
though
feel
he's
like-
just as bad.
I feel like Sidney was trying to be more of a redemption, you know?
Right.
Like, I need to change my life. I did something I didn't probably want to. It could have been like, this is the first time he killed somebody, and then.
Right.
I mean, obviously, he's very cool about doing it later, but for me, like, my favorite scene was the scene where he's talking to Samuel L. Jackson, saying, Sam Jackson's explaining, hey, I heard some things out of it, Atlantic City about how, and it's like, and I like John, and John's a cool guy, and I don't want to hurt him, and the past is the past. And they're talking about the hotel scene and how he found out about the guy that they kept beating in the room, so he knows about that, but he's like, I'm not going to say anything. Why would I want to capitalize?
But I'm gonna need 10
Kind of
grand.
almost setting up the fact that I've got something bigger that I want to use against you, but I also know this. I want to remind you that I also know about this, so you need to comply. And the scene where, he breaks out the window of Sidney's car, holds the gun against him, and tries to extort 10 grand. And Sidney's like, I don't have 10 grand. And he's like, give me 10 grand. And he's like, I have 6 grand. He's like, I don't want 6 grand. I want 10. And Sidney's basically lowballed him and said, no, I only have 6.
When you find it weird that it was 6 grand, which is what John asked for in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's a very weird number to have. Like,
I think
it's
I
almost
think that
like
all came together. He clearly had 10 grand, dude. He just wasted 2
Right.
at the craps table.
Right. So, I mean, that was a cool scene for me because the dialogue was kind of neat. It was a little fast, and
I did like that as well.
And he was like, you could tell that Sam Jackson's character, as hard as he wanted to be, he was also an idiot.
Right.
He was that stupid, because eventually he gets the 6 grand from Sidney. And Sidney has like a moment, and this is where the dialogue felt weird to me, where Sidney's like, okay, I'm going to give you this 6 grand, but before I give you that, I'm giving it to you because it's not because I don't want John to be hurt by the news about what happened. I'll deal with that. I love him as a son. I'm going to give you the 6 grand because I don't want to die.
Right.
And he's like, it's almost like a weird begging for his life, but it wasn't. And it felt clunky a little bit, the way the delivery was. It was still good, but that was the clunkiest, I think, the lines of the movie for me.
See, for me, that's just goes back to what I was saying about, like, he's this higher class of, person. He's not going to beg for his life.
No.
Like John would. He'd be like, please don't kill,
Oh, no.
And-
well, he's
but
always the
like,
smartest man in the room.
Right.
Throughout this movie, he's the smartest man in the room. He's, like I said, he's calculated.
Yeah.
So he knows that's how he's going to get in Sam's head, and how he's going to, not get shot in the face. So then Sam Jackson gets the 6 grand, gets all dressed up, and immediately, because criminals in this town are so fucking stupid, immediately goes to the casino and starts blowing 6 grand at the craps tables. And then, Sidney breaks into his house, gets one of Sam's guns, and sits and just waits.
I loved that.
Literally
scene, too.
just waits in a chair and positions himself like, hey, this is how I'm going to do it. Which now leads maybe John's father wasn't the first time he's killed somebody. Like, this is something he is used to doing.
Yeah, this guy's he's a professional.
Right. And so then you get that feeling like, okay, this guy knows what he's up to. And he was just waiting for Sam Jackson to come through the door. And it was weird that Sam Jackson got this money and immediately went to the casino. Literally, they probably, he was staying at to go bet a bunch of money. And it just, like I said, these people, everyone in this movie except for Sidney is stupid. And I understand why this movie was going to be named Sidney, and I understand why he was the focus.
Right.
That he's surrounded by morons, and he's trying to move these little chess pieces in a way that makes sense to atone for shit that he's done and try to take care of John C. Reilly's character.
Yeah. So, and that's pretty much the movie. And I want to know if people out there watched it, what they thought. I'm going to let Jordan start rating, and then we'll go around the room.
Well, and then don't forget that he basically shoots and kills.
Yeah, I thought that was implied. Sorry.
Yeah, no. So Sam Jackson comes in with
he even said he waited for him, and he positioned
Sam Jackson comes in with a woman that he's met at the casino, and he's making out, and it's another weird.
What does he say to her? Let me see that pussy or whatever.
Again, it's Sam Jackson being the most cringy version of Sam Jackson.
There was one scene. So Sidney shoots Sam Jackson's character. He dies. There's a car alarm going off outside, and that's all I can think about. This scene is like, oh, he doesn't use a silencer or anything.
No,
and this chick, he's
it's
letting
like
so
a
loud.
fucking Desert
It's
Eagle.
so
It's the
loud.
biggest goddamn handgun you can handle.
That's
and
all
he
I
shoots
could
him
think
once.
about.
It's not even just like he shoots him once, and it's like you sit there and you go, oh, did you hear that? No, he shoots him once, and he stands
Then
up and
unloads on
shoots him. Probably unloads the rest of the clip. I mean, this is this is the shotgun scene from Career Opportunities. He just unloads everything to this guy. Boom, 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 boom. Points the gun at the girl, says, "Get out of here."
Right.
And then leaves. And then the end of the movie is Sidney going back to that coffee shop diner. Sits at the diner, and he sees a little bit of blood on his shirt sleeve.
Cuff.
And he says, I've killed again.
And basically, he just kind of reminds him of a life he was trying to get rid of, and then covers it up. And you're left to assume that he's going to go to Niagara to meet John and Clementine, and
you are left to assume.
Do that because it cuts off. That's it. And credits.
Scene.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's exactly.
There's just a lot of history. There's a lot of story that I felt I would have loved to see about this character.
I agree with that. I just thought it was straightforward. Paul Thomas Anderson's first movie. I get that it wasn't going to be absolutely perfect. It's not this. There Will Be Blood. It's not a Phantom Thread, which I fucking love that movie. I understand that. I get it. I think the mystery is part of the nuance. Is what makes the story great. But I want you guys to rate it first, and we'll get to me, and then I wanted to talk about Malignant. So.
No. Well, for me, I think this is a good movie. I really do. I do like Paul Thomas Anderson. I love everything he's put out. I know what I'm getting into. Unlike Aaron, when I see a Paul Thomas Anderson movie,
ha ha. I didn't. Once again,
kidding. I'm just kidding.
Are you done?
Hard 8. No. No. I feel like there are parts of this movie that are missing. Now, I also know the history of this after reading up on it, after watching it, that the studio really messed with it. Like they messed with the title, they messed with the cut. I mean, just to go back real quick, I love the music in this movie.
Yeah.
Like it's very 60s hip casino type through most of the movie for the upbeat parts. And then when it really starts, the drama starts to hit, especially in that hotel room scene, the music gets real dark. And I really enjoyed that. But I feel like this movie wasn't complete. Like there was things that he wanted in there. This could have been a longer movie for him because this felt like a quick movie. Like I can almost tell you every scene.
Yeah.
Just by knowing what it is. It's like diner, casino 2 years later, and then bedroom,
hooker in the hotel room.
Hooker hotel room, and
Sydney
then
Sydney Jimmy.
Parking lot, and then Jimmy's house.
Yeah,
like
Jimmy's
it's very, very quick scenes. It feels where Rumblefish felt longer than it should have. This felt shorter than it should have.
Yeah, so we actually
very short.
saw I don't know if you watch it on Amazon Prime.
I did.
We saw the version that Paul Thomas Anderson doesn't really care for. There is a 2-hour and 25-minute cut of this film that he showed at a film festival, and that's the version he likes, but not the version that was ever put onto film.
Okay,
so,
well then that would be the version I personally would like to see. Only because I feel like there's a lot. I feel like there's a lot of story missing from this.
Well, and I don't know if you get all the extras with Amazon, but I know that you can go to YouTube and you can get commentary
Okay.
from Paul Thomas Anderson on this movie.
Yeah, and because it was his first movie, he had to relent to what the studios wanted. I mean, that's just it. You didn't get free reign. You didn't make your name for yourself yet. You had to do what the studio wanted, and that came with the title change. That came with the cuts that they did, reshooting scenes, things like that. So I did feel like it is a little incomplete. It's a good story. It's definitely not what I thought it was going to be, because when you talked about it and when you read the description, it kind of does feel like it's going to be a gambling movie, like a Rounders or
Right.
something like that. And it's not. It's definitely not. I mean, this could have been a one-shot movie where you're just following Sydney constantly, and that's how it felt. I think for me, I would suggest people watch it. I liked it. It's kind of, for me, it's like middle ground. I would say a 3. I liked it. I mean,
Okay.
I like those dialogue heavy movies. I don't need a lot of action.
Yeah,
I
I'm
just
the
feel
same
like
way.
I feel like I said, there was stuff missing. I would like to see some of that stuff, but it didn't hinder it to the point where I would say, this is terrible.
So I
like it.
own the Australian import, but it is by Imprint, which is the studio. I own the Blu-ray of this, but it's Region B. I can watch it out in the living room, but usually when I'm watching these, it's late at night, and I don't want to wake my kid up, so I'll watch whatever streaming copy I have. And it does say that the regular cut is an hour and 42 minutes, which is what we watched, and it does not have his cut on there, but I know there's a way to find it. I just don't know where it is. If that's something you're into, maybe look that up.
And that would be the cut I think I would like to see.
Yeah.
I would rewatch this movie with that cut just to see what else was out.
I would watch it. I mean, to be honest, if the Majestic or Alamo was playing the director's cut, I would go. And so, what did you think, Scott?
So the first time I watched this movie, I fell asleep. I'm not gonna lie, it was late. I zonked out. I had to go back and rewatch it again. Just like Jordan was saying, and like I said earlier, I felt like there's a lot of things there's a lot of holes. There's a lot of missing pieces to it. For me, it was okay. It was good. I mean, I think for the average moviegoer, they're probably going to find it maybe boring in some sense, because there's not a lot going on. I mean, with that said, if you're looking for some kind of a Vegas type movie, which is what I thought this was going to be, there's obviously better movies. You could watch Casino, you could watch Rounders, things like that are going to give you that type of movie. This is a very character-driven film on Sydney's character. I think I would rather have the movie had been more about him and more on his past and his story without all the other nonsense throwing in. With that said, to me, I'm going to give it a 3. It's kind of middle ground. It's not terrible. It's not, it's not great, but it's watchable for me.
Okay.
I
I once again, going back, and even with Jordan making fun of me and all this stuff, I didn't know what to expect. I know what Paul Thomas Anderson's films are like, but not everybody makes the same type of film all the time. There are certain directors who try to branch out. Martin Scorsese made Hugo, the After Hours, stuff like that. I didn't know what to expect from his first film. I didn't know if he was trying to be like something or if he was trying to do his own thing. So I was pleasantly surprised. I was more surprised than anything that it was, because like Jordan said, thought it was going to be a Rounders Casino type of movie, tackled by Paul Thomas Anderson, who always has a lot of very heavy themes in his films, but it was more about heavy themes of growing old and, outliving the sins of your past. And it worked for me. I didn't necessarily care about all the stuff I didn't know about, because I thought that the movie itself was intriguing. I thought it was mysterious for a reason. There was a reason he wrote this character this way, and I enjoyed it for what it was. But I'm with you guys. I'm going to go a little higher than you. I'm going to do 3.5, because not only would I recommend this, I would gladly watch it again. I would go out of my way to watch it again. I would study this movie. I'd watch it as many times as people wanted to watch it, and I really enjoyed it, and it was not just because it was my pick. So, yeah. All right, guys, have a good day. No, I'm kidding. So next week is Jordan's pick. What do you got for us next week, Jordan?
I've been kind of mulling it over. For me, it's hard because, like, originally I was thinking go something someone new. There's a new Nicolas Cage movie, which, spoiler alert, doesn't look like really any good.
I've seen it, but we will talk about it next week.
So I mean, there's a lot of things I wanted to do. I think for me, I wanted to go a little outside the box. There has been a movie that has been suggested to me numerous times. I've seen it's been on my list on Netflix numerous times. I love two of the actors in this movie. So this week, I am going to go with I Saw the Devil.
경찰에서는 아무래도 그 4명을 가장 유력한 용의자라고 보는 모양이야. 이거 기억나? 왜 이렇게 약한 척해? 이제 시작인데.
Guess what? I own it, and I have never seen it.
Fucking shocker.
We're changing the name of the show.
Aaron owns it. We'll watch it.
Never seen it.
Awesome. I'm really excited. So it was I Saw the Devil.
Yep. This one is a Korean movie. Just to preface that there are going to be subtitles. It stars
So
the
like
main
a martial arts movie?
No. Okay.
No,
So just a quick description is that this there's a serial killer out there, and there's this woman. She's broke down on the side of the road. Someone pulls over to help her out. Turns out it's the killer. He kills her. She's a pregnant woman, so he kills her and the baby. And it turns out it was the wife of a cop. So now the cop's hunting him down.
Wait, have you seen this?
No, I read the
Oh,
description.
okay.
I saw the trailer.
So it's like a thriller suspense.
The problem is that this is listed as a horror movie, and I honestly, by just looking at it, I don't feel like it is a horror movie. It stars one of the main actor from Old Boy. He plays the killer, and then it plays.
I'm all in.
I know, right? And the cop is played by I think Byung something. You would know him. If you saw the Magnificent Seven remake, he was the Korean guy that was hanging out with Ethan Hawke.
Okay.
So he plays the cop, and it feels like it's a movie where he chases down, finds the killer, captures him, tortures him, and then sets him free, and then hunts him down more and more every time he tries to kill someone new. So it looks like a very, like you said, like a thriller suspense. But like I said, it is a Korean movie. There's going to be subtitles. But
Poor Scott.
It really looks. It has always intrigued me. It always looks really good, and I have heard nothing but good things
gonna
about
have to
it.
come read the subtitles.
Yeah,
too.
we're gonna.
Well, I fell
with the audio captions on there.
I fell asleep because.
Well,
Anyway,
if I've got to read subtitles, I'm probably not going to fall asleep.
So we're gonna make you watch it in the morning,
I
so
didn't-
you can be wide awake.
so I didn't watch it the first time. I had to read all the subtitles, and then I went back and rewatched it for the scenes because I couldn't follow along.
I'm sure there's a dubbed version out there, but yes, it is a Korean movie. I don't remember the year. It is fairly, within the last 10 years.
So the interesting thing about this is, do you know who Adam Wingard is? He directed King, the Guest. He
Yes.
directed Kong versus Godzilla, stuff like that. Him and his writing partner Simon Barrett, who just directed a movie this year called Seance, which is fabulous. I highly suggest it. They actually wanted to do an American remake of this, but the studios, of course, got involved, and they were like PG-13, blah blah blah, and Jordan's taking selfies.
Social media, motherfuckers.
Anyways, so I just think that's interesting. I'm very excited to check this out. I've been wanting to see it forever. It's one of those movies where everyone tells me to watch it, and I'm like, I'll watch it later. But no. But
Yeah, I mean, to borrow a term from Aaron, a full disclosure, I don't want to.
let's take more.
I'm gonna take one
selfies.
from Aaron. I don't want to always hit with like really hard dramas. I don't want to hit with too much of the heavy stuff too often. And I know we kind of started off with a couple heavier movies. Aside
He's like
from
Dark City 2.
Dark City. I want to watch The Matrix. But this,
we get to.
Yeah, no, this is definitely something that's been on my list, piqued my interest, and I like that this is now going to force me to finally say, okay, I have to sit down and watch it.
Right.
And you know what? I really, honestly, I have no expectations of it. This is going to be one of those ones
Yeah,
where
I
it's
don't-
like I have a blank slate. This is going to be a very just like this last movie, it's going to be a very honest review of it because I haven't seen it before or I don't know much about it.
So my thing about it is like those movies, especially like Old Boy and stuff, those are some of the best movies I've ever seen in my life.
I love Korean movies. I love Japanese movies. Like one of my favorite horror movies, monster movies is not Godzilla, obviously. Oddly enough, it's The Host.
Oh, okay. I've actually never seen that.
Oh, The Host is great, and it's just one of those.
And I own it.
I love those types of movies. It's the main actor from Parasite.
I know. I own the Bong Joon-ho collection. I've just never seen The Host.
Right. So I like those kinds of movies. So I'm very, very intrigued by the premise of the movie, and I'm very intrigued about just what I'm going to see. So
Nice.
I'm excited.
I'm very excited about that. I think we have time. There's a couple things.
Yeah, speaking of horror movies.
Oh, okay. Oh, right.
So
Actually, there's two things I really want to talk about. We're going to talk about Malignant, but I also want to talk about Denis Villeneuve. Yeah, I really have some thoughts on that, and then we'll get to Blu-rays and we'll get out of your hair.
Fun. Let me stretch for a second.
So
I know
also
we're gonna have some opinions.
Usually, we only do one movie, and that's fine. And we're not really going to get into it like we get into our main movie. But I requested we all watch Malignant. We were at Disneyland last weekend. This movie came out, and I swear the internet made this movie sound like it was the next Exorcist. Oh my God.
The internet likes to do that.
I know they do, but I got caught up in the hype.
And you fall into that trap every single time.
Of course, because there's people that I respect that said they enjoyed this film. And I don't know if I respect them anymore, but so we all sat down, we watched Malignant, not together, separately, but
separate but equal.
Although we were separate, it feels to me we all felt the same way. So, what's his name? James Wan?
Yes.
He is the director of this film. You might know him from a little movie called Saw, and then he did the first two Conjuring films. Then they made
Aquaman.
Oh, yeah.
And he's doing the sequel to fucking Aquaman.
Of course he is.
So, it's...
And then he tripped and fell right on his fucking face.
No, but that's... My point about that is... I don't know what this dude is doing because he can't seem to get out of his own way. I don't necessarily like the Conjuring movies. They made 50 of them. They all suck. Saw 1 was great. I don't remember if he did Saw 2 or not. I don't think so. I don't think he did. I think he took off after 1. I don't hate James Wan, but he needs to chill out. I don't know what the deal is with this film. First off, it's filmed like a Lifetime movie. Like, I kept thinking I was watching the Lifetime channel.
This is his low budget horror, and not like good low budget horror where you have to cut corners and it works like Sam Raimi did when he first started out with like Evil Dead and shit like
right.
that. This is bad low budget.
Which
it's a
make
terrible
any...
movie.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just jump the gun here. It's a terrible shit movie.
So bad.
It's not good.
I text 2 minutes into this. I sent a message and I'm like, I'm 2 minutes into this movie. I want to throw my TV across the room.
Well, technically you said 10, but that's
I said
fine.
2.
Oh, bet.
It was the first 2 minutes of the movie.
Right.
Jordan, look it up.
With the opening scene,
Live.
and I said, I am done with this.
So,
I'm a horror movie. Like, I like
You're a horror
movies.
movie?
I'm a horror in movies. No,
Part 8, starring Gwyneth Paltrow as the horror.
I like horror movies. I love Halloween. There's nothing better than to put in some kind of a horror movie or a Halloween movie. And
he did say 2?
Yeah,
Damn
correct.
It.
Ding, ding, ding.
Fuck off.
There goes your lunch.
Yep, there goes your lunch. But I love that genre. I love when October rolls around. I love when I can throw in a Halloween movie.
I'm with
I'm
you.
the same way.
And I hate the internet and when these people just whack themselves to these new horror movies because they're not good. There hasn't been a good horror movie in years.
Well, here's the thing, like
Oculus was pretty good. I liked Oculus. Did you see Oculus?
Yeah.
I liked it. Well, I get what you're saying. I just want to jump back to Malignant for a little bit. My thing is, and I've been reading this a lot, is that was the point. It's making fun of like low budget 80s horror.
No.
And I'm like, what? What? Because I like, Romero and Fellini and all that stuff. I get, well, he's not a horror movie director.
I think you're thinking Fulci.
Yeah, sorry. But I get low budget horror, but most time low budget horror is still eerie. It's still like, oh man, like I don't want to open my door. Is there going to be a monster there or a killer or a
if
slasher?
we're going to compare Halloween, like Halloween is a low budget horror.
Yeah.
Right.
It's in a sense, but it's one of the best horror movies.
It's honestly my favorite horror movie. And I know
great
that's low
slasher
budget, low rent is when you break it down to everybody with horror movies, but that is genre defining. It's the final girl type movie. It's
Yes,
such a
you
good.
don't need special effects. You don't need big explosions.
No.
You don't need anything in a horror movie. Horror movies are meant to set a tone, and you need to set something uneasy and uncomfortable in order for it to be a good movie. And this movie was so off the mark.
Well, here's the thing.
Dude,
he had Warner Brothers behind him because he jerked off Warner Brothers and made Aquaman. Great. It made some money, and it was probably one of two of the only good DC movies that they put out. And that's stretching.
I was gonna say I
Really,
didn't like Aquaman.
That is a stretch.
There's a part in Aquaman where an octopus plays a drum, and I wanted to leave the theater.
Yeah, we were sitting in the same theater, and we
that's
both were
right.
just like, no, we're good. But yeah, like, so they gave him like, okay, here's your low budget. Let's make a low budget horror movie. Okay, great. You could tell it's low budget. The acting was terrible. The shots were bad.
horrible.
There was a part where the woman, and I'm just gonna ruin this fucking movie. For
Call the
everybody.
National
No,
Guard.
that-
I
oh
could-
my
I
God.
I almost turned it off.
She was like a low budget. What's that actress? That black actress that she's really funny. She's older though.
Wanda Sykes.
Wanda Sykes. She was like a Dollar Tree Wanda Sykes. Same hair, same
Yeah.
attitude, sassy black woman. She was the worst. I hated her character. I hated the cop character, the too young.
she was. Never mind.
Because no.
I'm just kidding. That is all a joke. That is a joke. You can cut that out. Anyways,
Anyway,
The-
no, but yeah,
the Asian cop character, you hated him.
I didn't like him. So basically, if we're taking notes by Aaron standards, I didn't like the black character and I didn't like the Asian guy. To
We
be fair,
passed
I didn't like
judgment.
any. To be fair, I didn't like any of the white cast either because they were bad actors. There was a scene where the woman goes, talking to her sister, and she goes, "I'm adopted," and then the camera pans to this woman. She get wide-eyed. The music is bad, and it just sits on her face for like a minute. And
the
I'm like,
sister was horrible.
the worst
Let's-
actor.
There's a
We're
scene.
passing this up when she walks in when she's pregnant. She comes home from work and her husband is sitting on the bed, right?
Oh,
and she like
asshole.
turns the TV off. You turned my TV off.
Oh my god! They just set this up to be the first death.
There was a funny part at the end of the film with her sister where her sister gets her brains blown out. But
I was
unfortunately, it's all in her mind. I was
yeah.
very disappointed.
I was upset. I was actually upset. I was like, "Oh, they fucking shot her! Thank God!" Nope, just kidding. It was a red herring. It didn't really happen.
Right.
So like basically this movie is this woman keeps getting pregnant, having miscarriages. They kind of allude to it. They don't really explain it right away, but they kind of allude to it.
Like an imaginary friend.
The husband
Yes.
is pissed off that she keeps getting pregnant. I'm like, motherfucker, you can stop that. You know that, right? and he is such an asshole about it. And then they get in an argument. He throws her up against the wall. She hits her head. And
This is where they try to trick you, though.
This is where
because
they try
then
to trick
she's
you.
bleeding from her head,
She's
and you think that she has this blunt force trauma to
Right.
the back of her head, but no, she's Voldemort.
Well, oh my god, this is a fucking Harry Potter prequel. So yeah, so the whole story is that this and if you don't want this movie ruined for you,
No,
just
ruin it.
Fucking turn it off. Turn this podcast off.
Nobody
Thanks for
deserves to see it.
Thanks for listening. But
They've already turned it off 20 minutes ago.
she hits her head, starts bleeding, and it turns out she had I forget the term of it, but basically one of those.
It's like a conjoined twin.
She fucking Quatto on her back from and because this Quatto character somehow, and they never explained it, has these mystical powers to control electricity. They cut it out of her, but can't cut it completely out because it'll
they
kill her. So
shove
they
it in?
shove the rest back into her fucking head,
Which makes no
and
sense.
sew her up and. I don't know, hypnotize her to forget that she had Quatto, and then she lives the rest of her life. I'm sorry.
How does she not have
How do
deformities?
how do you not know that there's a fucking 9-foot scar going from the base of your spine to the top of your head
That's
to
because
cover up Quatto?
At the end of the movie, you can see she can just magically force heal her head when she
It's
shoves
so
it.
fucking
Dude,
dumb.
there's a scene. We're going back to the Matrix again. That's just like the
The
Matrix.
fight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it was Harry Potter meets the Matrix.
So
tries
yeah.
to be a
Beats
horror
V
movie.
for
So
V
that's
for
the big
Vendetta.
that's the big twist. That's the big reveal is that they find out. Oh my god, the killer has been her the entire time, but not really her. It's her fucking sucked into your body conjoined twin Quatto character
And controls
into
her
head.
backwards.
And it
Right.
controls her, but
I'm the
it
backwards
peels
man, the
her back
backwards
of her
man.
head open. His little deformed fucking Quatto face comes out, and then bends her arms so he can like move them forward in a
Which
way.
it doesn't
but
make
then-
any sense because her
No.
arms would be permanently
no,
broken.
constantly broken. And then like she runs backwards but forwards. It's the dumbest, and you notice it almost right away.
And then
when
she
you
becomes
see,
Neo.
Right.
Yeah. And like, again, this thing has powers, and all of a sudden she's got weird strength that you don't know about. And then the movie is terrible all the way up until
No, it's still terrible. It's just entertaining once it gets to that part.
No, okay, it's terrible until you get to the scene where she is in jail because, okay, plot. They put her in jail with, of course, the most hard-hitting Seattle fucking criminal women ever. Like the woman from the
kicking her for no reason.
And
did you breathe loud?
And really, excuse the language I'm about to use. You got the bull dyke.
That is intolerant.
And that is the best way to describe it. If you're going to picture somebody, picture blonde hair, crew cut mullet, bull dyke type character who is
cut off jeans,
already sleeve vest, being an asshole to her. And to her left, I swear to God, a time machine opened up and you have the sassy Afroed black woman from 1970.
From Jackie Brown.
And Jackie
You're
Brown.
not wrong.
And I'm like, why the fuck are these two characters in jail in the holding cell? And so, of course, they're messing with the prissy housewife white woman. They start beating her down. Where are any of the guards? Like, I'm sorry, there's got to be someone around.
Nah, I'm a prison guard. We don't care.
They just beat the crap out of her, which, of course, for plot reasons, ignites Gabriel's, fire here,
which is the name of the weird
Quatto. It's Quatto. So of course,
Voldemort.
in the only cool scene of this entire movie, she rips open her head. You see little Quatto come out, bends the arms, and then she proceeds in this form to mangle and destroy everybody in this jail cell. And there's got to be like 15 women in there, and she murders in a gruesome way every single one of these motherfuckers. And then the cop finally comes and goes, "Oh my God, what's going on?" So he pulls out his gun immediately, starts shooting. She uses somebody as a fucking
human shield,
throws it down, grabs his arm, breaks it, kills him.
There was a lot of
gets the fuck out, and then proceeds to murder after getting her Matrix jacket and weird knife / trophy, and proceeds to kill probably 30 cops in a police station.
Jumping off the walls to weird electronica music.
Yeah, Matrix-esque, like jumping around, kicking, fighting, murdering everybody. And as much as I hated this movie, that's the only cool scene of the movie. Yeah. And it's so out of the norm of what you thought this horror movie was going to be. And then after that, it gets shitty again. And you're like, okay, this
for the
movie
first
sucks.
hour and 10 minutes, absolutely nothing happens in this
I know.
film.
You were texting me the entire time last night. You're like, nothing is happening in this movie. And it is not scary. It is not even suspenseful.
It's comical.
It's not I laughed. I was laughing, and I tried not to bury that lead with you guys when I was telling you, when you guys were going to watch it. I held back telling you how dumb this is, how much I laughed in this movie. And I wanted you guys to watch it and experience how bad it was from the way I experienced it.
At one point, I just wrote LMAFO to you on text, and you're like, "Oh, you must have got to the jail scene."
Oh, you must have got to the jail scene. Yeah, like legit, I knew the second you said it, that's where you were.
And I really want to reiterate something, because at the beginning of this, I told you, like, oh, well, the internet made me think.
Everyone's jacking this movie off.
So we did not talk to each other about this film, like, until we saw the film. So it was like, I said, "Okay, Jordan, I'm starting the film," and then he didn't say like, "Oh, it's terrible. You're not going to like it." He buried the lead, as they say, or whatever. He kept it under wraps. He kept his mouth shut. Scott made a couple of comments, but nothing to allude to the fact of what he thought. When we came together today and discussed it, we all had the same exact thought. So let me ask you, people of the world, where are we different than the internet is? Because it doesn't make any sense to me. You can like a bad movie. I don't care. You can even say this movie is good. I don't care. But three guys who have very different tastes in film all had the same idea. Fuck this movie. Fuck you, James Wan. Fuck you, HBO Max. Stop producing shit for people. Otherwise, that's all we're going to be used to.
I feel like it had such a good premise, and it tried to be this weird body horror, scary movie, and it failed.
It should have all been in her mind, like everything. You know what I mean?
Like her, you just like at the end of the movie, she's literally just dying on the floor after her husband beat her to death. Like she just imagined 2 hours of plot, and then like you just like
that would have been more interesting.
She's dead.
It would have been way better.
So
no, that was not good. So not a horror movie.
If I could give something a negative rating, this would get a negative rating.
It was definitely a 1 for me. I will never watch it again. I might watch it again if like later somebody's like, "Oh, let's watch that." I'll be like, "All right, let's watch it," and joke about it. I would never go to the theaters.
Anybody, even people who are not into horror movies, I suggest just fast forward this entire thing and just watch the jailhouse scene and the fucking cop scene, and then that's it. Don't watch anything else because that's fun.
Are fucking pointless.
They're bad. Well,
and dark.
So I guess they tried to inject plot into this, where I guess Gabriel was killing people that was the result of him getting cut out of the main character. I don't even care what her name is.
I don't know why I even care about this movie anymore.
He killed the doctor that helped cut him out. He killed the other attending physician that helped cut him out. He kidnapped their birth mother because, she gave him up for adoption. And there was a whole scene where it's like, Gabriel, you were my son. I should have given you up. I was like, fucking stab her. I don't care.
Gabriel should have cut this movie out of production.
And then, the special effect. There is a point where you're the special effects of the head ripping up was cool. You see his little dumb face and whatever. But in the whole Matrix scene, you've got her running around backwards fighting all the cops, and I swear to God, they just slapped the worst rubber mask on the back of his head.
Oh, dude, it
was very rubbery, and it was so bad. I'm like, you're supposed to think that this person's face is now just limp dick on the back of his head, and his little dumb Quatto face is guiding everything, and it's so rubbery and so bad. Like you couldn't just spare just a little bit more money and do this better, and. I almost read an article. I didn't read it, but apparently there was like this contortionist that was the main character and doing all the motions. No, because you know what? The less I know about this movie, the better. Like I don't want to know more about this movie. I don't need to deep dive in this.
That was so funny.
The 2 years I want to know about Sydney, I don't want to know any more about Malignant. Like
I need the Men in Black mind scrub.
This made me dumber. Watching this, and I'm glad I waited to watch Heart 8 after this movie, because then I got to see something better. And I think maybe that helped propel my opinion. I watched garbage this week. This is not garbage.
I watched Heart 8 and then I watched this film, and I was very upset. And then I watched Prisoners of Ghostland, so it was just a weird week for me.
You had a fun weekend.
Yeah.
Wait, Malignant is not good. Do
not watch that.
It's free on HBO. If you've got it, just fucking check it out. If not for that scene, but don't go in thinking it's scary.
This is a recommend for me.
Don't go see. Don't think it's a horror movie. I think it's miscategorized. I think it's maybe a thriller. I think James Wan wanted to make a low budget Italian horror movie called Giallo. It failed on that. It's such a bad movie.
Damn.
Yeah, it's such a bad movie.
Well, try again, James Wan. Sorry.
No, stop trying. I don't want to see Aquaman 2. Like, don't keep doing this. You're done.
You know what, James Wan? You didn't impress the three guys doing a show at a closet.
Right.
So don't even fucking try again.
The internet's going to be on fire. We listened to this podcast, 40 views, and they fucking hated it.
Don't let it get back to him, because then he'll think he can do another one.
Oh,
Malignant too.
Jesus Christ, that was so bad. Because they set this up like, okay, she locks Gabriel in her mind vice, and fucking now he's locked up in her head, and she's got all this superpowers now, and lifted a fucking bed off her sister. This movie's terrible.
Yo, if he did it, you could do it.
He was only using my body, and now I know I can lift this bed because I've got super fucking powers.
Also,
this movie's garbage.
I'm gonna put my head back together with absolutely no repercussions.
This is the worst X-Men movie I've ever seen.
Anyways,
don't see it.
Don't see it. Also, we don't have a lot of time left. I'm not trying to keep you guys here all day.
Fuck you. You're staying with us.
Before we get into the Blu-rays, I did want to talk about a couple things. Just this one topic, because it's been on my mind for a while. Where a couple years ago, Martin Scorsese said that all Marvel films were like theme park rides, and everyone on the internet lost their fucking mind, and they started review bombing Martin Scorsese. Well, the new Dune is coming out, and Dennis, I don't ever know how to pronounce his last name. I want to say it's Villeneuve or Villeneuve came out and said that all Marvel movies are copy and paste. He then came back out and said, but it's okay for women like Chloe. I cannot remember her name. I'm sorry. I should have pulled this stuff up before. Yeah, who's directing the Eternals, to get stuff like this because it's a big deal. These movies make them a lot of money. I just wanted to kind of see where you guys were at on that, kind of put it out in the open, because I've been kind of typing the same thing all weekend. This is how I feel about it. I love Dennis Vanilla Wafer.
Vanilla Wafer.
Vanilla Who.
I think his movies are incredible. I love Sicario. Arrival is one of the best sci-fi films ever made. 2049, as we've talked. Oh, do you hate Arrival?
I hate that movie.
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
That was the most boring fucking sci-fi
No,
movie I've ever seen.
I loved it. But we both like 2049.
Yes.
Prisoners is great. If you haven't seen it, there's a really good A24 film called Enemy that he does with Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yes.
Fucking awesome. These are movies I have seen and I don't own. So
never be on the podcast.
That's a different show.
So I just my thoughts on this are clearly these journalists are asking these big directors this question, and they are cutting the part where they ask the question, and it just seems like he is doing this to get press for Dune. I understand that part. What I don't understand is we live in this society where 14-year-olds think, oh, well, he doesn't like this Marvel movie, so I'm going to go out and try and wreck all the films he puts out, because he's asked a question, he's given an opinion. His opinion is just as valid as your or my opinion or the 14-year-old online. And these directors continuously fall into this trap, but I don't think that they should be silenced on the subject. They're allowed to have whatever opinion on Marvel movies they want. So I was just wondering what you guys thought about that, because it's frustrating to me when I see these people. If you go on Letterboxd right now, there's a ton of review bombs for Dune already because of his comments from, Marvel fake bots and stuff like that. And I don't want to see Dune fail. Apparently it's supposed to be a trilogy. I've already read a ton of people overseas say it's like the next franchise. This is going to be it. It's Star Wars for, the next generation, which I've heard a million times. But I'm excited about it. And I just wanted to see where you guys fell into that category, since it is movie news and we do a show about movies. Scott, since you're stupid, what do you think?
Here's the thing, man.
Come on, John C. Reilly, give us the news.
Yeah, the internet is stupid in just period.
Yeah.
And we all know, because we've had this discussion, if you go on the internet and you look at comments, you get enraged because you're not allowed to have an opinion. And the biggest advice that I can give to anybody is it's okay to not share the same opinion as other people. It's fine. Just let it go. Do your thing. You do you, man. Be you.
Well, I agree with you to some extent. It's these comments do affect their lives in the sense that he now is being review bombed by these 14-year-old kids who fucking love Marvel, and sometimes people, will take that like Captain.
But if Dune is a good movie, it's gonna make money and it'll be good.
I hope so.
So don't put out a fucking Malignant, and you're gonna be fine. If you put out a good movie, people are gonna go see it, because whatever he said, once people see it in the theater, and if it's a great movie or an amazing movie, they're gonna go back and start telling people. People are gonna see it, and that will take care of all of it.
Here's my thing, and I'm not one to say I have to, you have to stifle your comments or you have to cater anything. But if you're promoting your movie, and if you're in a position of influence, as it were, maybe know what you're saying could affect things in the long term.
I just feel
and that's the problem with fair. I think. No, it's not fair. But they're also working for companies. They are also big time directors, actors, things like that. To the point where, why don't you guys know how to navigate the social?
But this has been going on for years.
It is,
and not only
it's
in movies.
Never good.
It was, and this is just as you said this, it brought me back to when I was younger, when Charles Barkley made the commercial for Nike. I am not a role model, and people were like, but you are a role model. Everything you do, people see. Well,
no,
these people don't care. They don't care what we think.
No, but my thing is like you're attacking.
We know, we've seen the show numbers.
Well, my thing is like, okay. He's attacking Marvel. Think what you want about Marvel. I tend to like all the Marvel movies except for, there have been a few duds, but for the most part, I enjoy them. I understand that they're comic book movies. You know what you're getting into, and for the most part, some of these are cut and paste. But
I'm not trying to argue this all day. I don't think he attacked anything. I think he was asked a question and just gave his honest opinion. So
right, but his opinion attacked an entity that people are passionate about, and for me, he's coming from a position where he is making He's talking about cut and paste and all this shit. He's remaking a movie. This is a remake of an existing property. Granted, it's going to look great. He's going to do great with it, and it's fine.
I'm going to argue with you on that, too.
He made
Which is kind of in the same realm of a Marvel movie.
He made a sequel to an existing property with 2049. Okay, great. So he is doing the things that he's complaining about. And that's where it gets to me. Like, he is entitled to his opinion, but know what the fuck you're talking about. If
But
you're
again,
going to make a sequel...
Context is everything, though.
If you're making a sequel and you're making a cut and paste movie off an existing property that has been done a number of times...
So Dune has been made twice, but I feel like book adaptations are not really remakes because people interpret books differently.
Great.
So this is his interpretation of that. It's not necessarily a remake unless he uses scenes from Lynch's or that TV movie.
No, I understand that. I just,
I get what you're saying. I can't back
I'm not
that
not
up.
against what he said, and I think he's right in a sense where some of these do feel formulaic, cut and paste, but you know what? That's what these movies are going to be. But
right, and like I said, I've owned all the Marvel movies. I own them all in Steelbook. I go out of my way to get them. Yes, which by the way, I could have easily gotten.
I'm aware.
So, yeah, I just wanted to see what
I think he's
thought.
entitled to his opinion. I just think at this point in your career, and I think at this point in the way social media takes things and ruins things, keep it. Keep some of that opinion to yourself.
Right.
I hate saying that because everyone is entitled to their opinion. I just think you are in a position. Yes, you're not a role model, and most people don't even know who the fuck you are as far as a director goes. You couldn't ask a normal person who Denis Villeneuve is.
We are the internet. You are not allowed to have any opinions.
No, I'm just saying, if you're promoting this big budget movie that, right now is going to go to HBO Max and it is going to go to the theater, you're going to start influencing people like these idiots on the internet that are going to mess with your reviews.
Yeah.
I think reviews are terrible. I don't go by reviews anymore. Malignant is a good reason for that.
Right.
You've got 80-90% of people saying this is a great movie, and I watched absolute garbage.
Right.
So you can't go in expecting people's reviews to influence you, and if you do that, then that's the thing. That you're an idiot for doing it.
That's
go
fine.
in with your own opinion.
And that's the conversation I wanted to have. I just wanted to see where you guys.
I think he's
that.
right. I just think maybe now is not really the platform to do it because half the cast of Dune is in every one of these Marvel movies. Half the directors now are clamoring to take these big budget movies and maybe make them their own. Maybe it's something where he's not being asked to do these movies. And maybe it's a little bit of a bitter pill to swallow that some of these and I understand that these movies are making tons of money and squishing some of these smaller budget movies out of the way. So you can't make these art house movies and things
fine.
like that.
And I get what you're saying. My thing about it is and you brought up that maybe he's not being asked to do these movies. If I was along the same lines as him or a Tarantino or a Paul Thomas Anderson or a David Lynch, I wouldn't want to do a Marvel film.
It's not for everybody.
Right. Not because I don't like the movies. Like I've said, I own them all. But because I would want my work. I want people to be. That's a Aaron Williams movie. That's a David Lynch film.
Couldn't you
can't
say that, okay, I'm going to take this existing property, Marvel characters, and make it something? I mean, look at the Russo brothers. These motherfuckers were comedic directors that did 1,000 episodes of Community and they made some of the best Marvel movies out there.
Right. I agree with you.
Craziness. Chloe Zhao did Nowhereland, or what was that?
Nomadland. It was fantastic.
And it's an Oscar-winning movie. It's fantastic. It's a great movie. And now she's doing the Eternals. The marketing sucks for this movie.
I was just going to say, but nobody wants to see Eternals.
I am not as excited for this, and it could be because of the Infinity War stuff. You're just kind of fatigued by it.
I am fatigued.
But she could knock this out of the park and make it something within the confines of a Marvel movie that is better than what you would think a Marvel movie could be.
Right.
But you're just going to go see it.
So, all right. Well, that's fine. That's why we're all entitled to our own opinions. I just wanted to see where you guys fell on that. Scott had the worst take, so it's all good. All right, so let's get
ultimate idiot right off the bat.
No, I was joking.
Give me your opinion, moron.
I love you, Scott.
The next episode's gonna be like, I don't understand why we can't hear Aaron through the whole movie.
Through the whole movie.
Through the whole
like high pitch
the whole episode.
He's trying to say he's not an idiot, and then he says, "I can't understand why we can't hear Aaron through the whole movie."
I mean, we're talking about movies.
I
said
know.
movie.
It's a joke. All right, guys, we're gonna get to some Blu-ray releases next week that I'm excited about, and then we're gonna get out of your hair. Thank you for putting up with us this week. So, September 21st, we got some really good ones coming out that I'm actually very excited for. First up, we got Stanley Kubrick's Clockwork Orange.
There was a need that is Alex. And my 3 droogs, that is Pete, Georgie, and Dim. And we sat in the Korova milk bar trying to make up our razoo docs what to do with the evening. The Korova milk bar sold Milk Plus, which is what we were drinking. This would sharpen you up and make you ready for a bit of the old ultra-violence.
I've never seen it. And I want to see it very badly. It's coming out in 4K.
And I own it. It's right over here.
I actually don't own it, and I've never seen it.
I have seen it.
I have too.
Oh, darn. Well, we can't pick it for the movie, but...
and then just as a side note, I'm one of those rare people that I don't fully enjoy everything Stanley Kubrick does.
I love The Shining.
And everyone loves him. And
I love 2001. I don't
think I've ever seen all of 2001.
Oh, it's good.
It's
I saw it in theaters.
It's so slow and long that I think I punched out.
I was forced to see it in film school too. Like we had to watch it and write like a paper on it and stuff. So I am excited to get the 4K. I'm gonna actually sit down and check that out. So we also got a Paramount release that I'm really excited about because this is actually a great movie. I don't care what anybody says. It's Kurt Russell's Breakdown.
A leisurely cross-country trip.
What the hell is...
What did you do?
Hang on, I can't steer.
An unexpected breakdown.
Can you believe this?
A helpful passerby.
Folks all right?
Our car broke down.
I can give you a ride to Bell's, a little diner about 5 miles down the road. They got a payphone. You call a tow truck. They just come in and haul you out.
It could happen to anyone.
I think it's a horror movie, Kurt Russell movie or whatever.
Is this the one where his wife
It's been a while.
kidnapped?
Yeah, and he has to like chase down the trucker. Yeah. It's like Joyride. If you ever seen Joyride. Oh, I love that movie, dude.
I love Joyride.
Then we got
Paul Walker.
We finally have the 4K release of Unbreakable.
You're in the emergency room of the Philadelphia City Hospital. I'm gonna ask you some questions. Where were you sitting on the train?
Against the window.
In the passenger car?
Yes.
You're certain you were in the passenger car?
Yeah. Where are the other passengers?
And
finally,
I'm excited about it
like that movie.
because, well, I've owned Glass, I've owned Split in 4K, but Unbreakable, I think is the best M. Night Shyamalan movie.
I agree,
and it's finally coming to 4K. I can finally complete that trilogy as a collector.
That's a comic book movie.
And just a couple more here, but if you don't know how magnets work, Fast 9 comes out on Tuesday.
I don't have friends. I got family.
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 Family. Your family.
And you get to experience the science of magnets yourself, guys.
You still won't be able to figure it out.
The director's cut has more magnets.
I'm not kidding you because I'll
the
own
box
it.
set comes with a magnet.
So I have the box set of the Fast and Furious franchise right behind you. I'm gonna buy this because I gotta keep up. I'm going to listen to the commentary. Because I really need them to address it. I need answers on why these magnets only work in certain places. And if they don't address it, I'm going to write a letter. And then
I want to read that letter before you send it. I want to see what this letter would say.
There's 2 more. The Warner Archives collection of Straight Time. Dustin Hoffman gets out of jail. It's a fantastic film. I remember watching this with my dad back in the day. He gets out of jail and he just wants to go straight, but 2 dumb criminals kind of pull him back in. It's hilarious. It's really good. It's like I said, it comes out of the Warner Archives. They're actually going away, Warner Archives, and they're just releasing a bunch of stuff. They're dumping a bunch of stuff. So I'm collecting as much as I can from Warner Archives before they stop releasing Blu-ray, which is sometime next year. And then last but not least, Disney's Cruella with Emma Stone.
Let me give you some advice. You can't care about anyone else. Everyone else is an obstacle. You care what an obstacle wants or feels, you're dead. If I'd cared about anyone or thing, I might have died. You have the talent. Whether you have the killer instinct is the big question.
I never saw this movie. It looked terrible. It looked like Disney's version of the Joker.
Got a sequel greenlit.
Does it?
Yeah, she signed on for a sequel.
So I might pick it up or watch it on Disney Plus or something.
The lawsuits.
I usually own every Disney movie, so if any of you guys are excited about any of those things, that's what's coming out on Tuesday. So as always, guys, the next movie we are watching is Jordan's pick, and it's I Saw the Devil. We will be back next week with that, and then after that it'll be Scott's movie, and then another snack show. We really appreciate you guys checking us out. We see the numbers for the snack show, and I appreciate you guys checking us out. This is I'll Watch It Later, and I'm Aaron.
Jordan.
And Scott.
And we'll see you guys next week.